This is just scary.
It is blowing out there. Whoa! There goes the screen.
Unprecedented.
It was crazy. People's houses flying by, you got trees flying by.
The wind was like pulling us out of that little room. I thought these walls would have went next. It was terrifying.
And finally the power went out.
It is a big hurricane. Catastrophic storm surge.
There it goes.
Experienced only one Category 1 condition.
This is my first year living in Florida, my first major hurricane, and trust me when I tell you it's my last.
From Fox 13, the one to watch for weather, this is Surviving the Storm.
Hi, I'm Paul Dellegatto. Florida is in the bullseye of another hurricane season. Damage and cleanup from our last go-around is still underway. Your readiness is needed now more than ever. Hurricane Michael leaves a lasting legacy. Scars on Florida's landscape. Scars in the hearts and minds of people in its path.
We were both in fear of either, or their lives.
Howling winds, pounding surf. An October haunting like no other. Mexico Beach became a ghost town.
A major hit. Power's going to be off for multiple weeks.
Landfall near Tyndall Air Force Base swatted away jet planes, obliterated hangars, and toppled buildings.
Winds like a jet engine.
A place where a generation of people called home had their homes wiped out right down to the slabs. Like a thief in the night, Michael stole lives, homes, jobs, cars, everything. You can put a price tag on prized possessions lost. So far, damage estimates put the number between 10 and 12 billion. But no calculator can total the amount of pain, despair, and damage to the human psyche caused by a monster named Michael. Michael was one of those hurricanes that developed quickly. Fox 13 meteorologist Dave Osterberg retraces Michael's path.
Hurricane Michael formed where many storms do in October in the Western Caribbean, where the warmest and the deepest water is in the entire Atlantic basin. And as it moved into the Gulf of Mexico, pockets of very warm water fueled this storm. It underwent rapid intensification and, yes, became the first Category 5 hurricane since Andrew, with winds of 160 miles per hour as it made landfall. It was still a major hurricane in southwest Georgia by the time it made it there. It hasn't happened since the 1800s. Eventually, it rained itself out over the Carolinas. But with it, boy, oh boy, did it bring a storm surge. 12 to 16 feet, and there were hurricane force wind gusts and 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts all the way up into parts of Georgia. Fourth Category 5 on record to hit the U.S., third lowest pressure as well, and the strongest storm to ever hit the Florida Panhandle. And as I speak, they are still cleaning up from this storm. Dave Osterberg, Fox 13 Weather.
Memories can quickly fade after a storm strikes, but for those living in the path of destruction, the sense of loss never goes away. Fox 13's Jennifer Holton checked in on people recovering from Hurricane Michael.
2 days after the storm, miles of Mexico Beach sounded like this. The incessant droning of smoke alarms set off by the saltwater surge. 4 months later, the blaring beeps have been replaced with the sound of rebuilding.
We have to date over 600,000 cubic yards of debris has left the city.
With 80% of the city decimated by Hurricane Michael's fury, the community is depending on volunteer teams like this one to bring them through it.
We're
we're getting a lot of work done. However, there's a lot more work to do.
One of many still left in the Panhandle, tasked with helping residents like Martha Lee, who was inside her home when the storm surge rushed down her street.
And the water rose in the house, and you could just watch it. I mean, it just came right up, like a sink was filling up.
For weeks, she says, nothing looked the same.
It looked like, I would imagine, an atomic bomb, because it was flat.
But for people like Lee, who have been living it every day since October 10th,
it's like a miracle. People have come in and cleaned things away, and it's some normalcy's coming back, you know.
In the long road ahead, Kathy hopes his community has the energy to stay the course.
I mean, this is a marathon we're in. We haven't even run a mile yet.
Reporting in Mexico Beach, Jennifer Holton, Fox 13 News.
The awful aftermath of Michael should be a wake-up call for all of us. Don't go scrambling to find out what your homeowner insurance covers. Fox 13's Sorbani Banerjee has your pre-storm checklist.
You come home to something like this or this. It's time to file a homeowner's insurance claim.
Basically what you want to do is you want to assess the damage first, and you want to do anything that you possibly can to prevent any future damage from happening.
When damage happens, you need to understand your policy.
People should be more aware of is what's included in that contents. We see a lot of folks that think that their Rolex watches are included as contents. Well, they are to a certain extent, and almost every insurance company has a sub-limit of contents coverage for things like fine arts and jewelry, et cetera, et cetera.
Buy additional coverage for high-end items and protect your belongings with either replacement cost coverage or actual cash value. For instance, do you want your TV replaced for what it cost when you bought it, or what a comparable model costs today? Buy separate flood insurance. Homeowners insurance covers water damage from a busted pipe, for example, but not flooding caused by a storm. And factor in your hurricane deductible. Insurance agents say people weren't expecting the expense after Irma.
And it's usually a number between 2 and 5% of the total dwelling amount. So if we take $300,000 home, for example, and we have a 2% dwelling coverage amount, we're going to have a $6,000 hurricane deductible.
People would call up and say, I have $2,000 worth of damage, and you'd say, yeah, you're on the hook.
Exactly, and it's been 11 years since we've seen any kind of major storm system here in this area, in Florida. And I know we've got a lot of transplants, a lot of people that don't really understand that, and I don't think people take enough time to understand what's in their homeowner's insurance policy, what is and what's not in it.
Sorbani Banerjee, Fox 13 News.
In my home, our family is ready when the lights go out. We have flashlights and lots of batteries. Our outdoor solar lights brighten our living room at night. We store gallons of drinking water. Me, I like juice boxes. If the stove and microwave don't work, we have lots of crackers, peanut butter, and stuff you don't need to cook. We listen to a battery-powered radio if we can't watch TV, and play cards, puzzles, and board games. We can live without power for days.
Welcome back to Surviving the Storm. While Michael had the most impact in Florida, Hurricane Florence arrived first, giving a scare to our East Coast. Meteorologist Tyler Eliason breaks down Florence's movement.
Well, it was early September. We were watching the wave that eventually became Florence move off the coast of Africa, watching everything that comes off the coast of Africa at that point in the season. Florence was interesting because it strengthened rapidly and looked like it was going to take just that track out to sea, but there's a first time for everything. It is tough for storms to get caught at this latitude and move due west, but that's exactly what happened. Winds were up to 140 as this storm was just a few hundred miles offshore. Understandably so, folks in the Carolinas really started to get nervous, but all along, this wasn't going to be so much a wind event as that storm really slowed down and weakened dramatically leading up to landfall. But with a slow-moving storm, you get water impacts, very heavy rain. In some spots, they saw up to 3 feet in southeastern North Carolina. It just goes to show you that it's not the strength of the storm that always determines the severity of the impacts. Meteorologist Tyler Eliason, Fox 13 Weather.
Basic needs take top priority in storm season. There are a lot of options for food. Fox 13's Linda Hurtado shows us one popular high-tech option.
It's about 85 cents, and it's a Swanson fried chicken dinner.
From TV dinners of the past to today's frozen food aisles, getting full meals to hungry Americans fast has turned into, well, an art form. Nothing exemplifies that more than this. Freeze-dried, packaged, and ready to eat emergency food. Manufacturers say they bring flavor and convenience.
When you're eating a Mountain House meal, you are eating real food.
Kenny Larson is in charge of marketing for the nation's oldest and perhaps most prestigious freeze-dried food maker.
Our food can last upwards of 30 years. We cook our food, and then we freeze our food solid. We stick that food in a vacuum chamber, then draw a very strong vacuum.
Okay, we know it'll last quite a while, and in some cases cooks like real food. But what about taste? We called our 911 culinary critics.
6 cups of water in here.
The men of Tampa's Firehouse 14 are tops in putting out fires and putting down flavor.
Ooh, a lot of sodium in here.
First up,
chicken fried rice.
And with vegetables.
we boil, stir, and serve.
Just gonna serve you a little sample.
The results?
So you just said you've had some Firehouse meals that are worse.
A few, not many.
Next on the menu.
This is potato cheddar soup.
How long could you go on a diet of beef stroganoff and cheddar potato soup?
I could do it for a little while. I wouldn't want it to be a staple.
All in all, our firefighting foodies put 5 dishes to our taste test.
So if you had to survive, this is a good idea.
Easiest way to survive, yep. And it's actually pretty decent.
Just like any food, everyone has their own preference and opinion on taste.
If you were really hungry, it probably would taste like lobster, but in this case, not so much.
But faced with surviving during and after a Florida storm, nothing else may taste better. Linda Hurtado, Fox 13 News.
Water is always a necessity. New technology now makes stockpiling easier. Fox 13's Evan Axelbank shows us how it works.
Bare store shelves mean a big storm is coming. They also mean drinking water is more valuable than ever. But one South Florida company says the answer is in the air.
This water came from the humidity that's in the room. You've taken it and basically, if I may, for the lack of a better term, put it in one place into this glass.
Yes.
Doug Marseille, founder of Atmospheric Water Solutions in Broward County, shows how their machine, the AquaBoy, works.
The air is pulled through this HEPA filter. Once it's through, it touches these condensation coils, chilled to 35 degrees Fahrenheit. The condensation becomes rain. It collects into a collection tray and goes into a collection tank with an ultraviolet light bulb in it to make sure it's pure and sanitized.
Kills everything.
Oh, yes. This meets the EPA definition of purified water.
The AquaBoy can produce 5 gallons of water a day, so long as the humidity is at least 60%. But they can go bigger, too.
We have a 1,500-gallon-a-day one installed on top of a hospital.
They say it's perfect in a pinch, storm or not.
Take storage containers, wait till it's full, drain it into the containers, have it refill, and you could wind up with 20, 30, 40 gallons of water that you could use over an extended period of time.
They hope for their business's sake and everyone's that the technology is the first step in solving some of the world's toughest problems.
Water availability, water sustainability, water quality.
Solving problems by tapping into an unlimited resource. Florida's famous humidity.
We have 37.5 million gallons of water in the atmosphere. We're not going to run out of water in the air.
Evan Axelbank, Fox 13 News.
If the boys in Vegas laid odds on hurricanes, September would top all months. Meteorologist Jim Weber has some insight.
We have to pay attention all during the hurricane season, but especially during the month of September. It's the peak of the hurricane season on September 10th. Now, all throughout the summertime months, the waters of the tropical Atlantic have been warming up. The wind shear, which was present in the spring, has weakened and is now at its minimum state. This allows for storms forming well out into the Atlantic to move over open waters and gain even more strength before they reach the U.S. coastline. Now, since 1851, We've had 406 September hurricanes in the Atlantic, 17 major hurricane landfalls in the state of Florida during the month of September. And you may recognize some of the names on this list: Elena, Hugo, Irma, Ivan, Jean, and Francis, all during the month of September. So even during quiet years, you have to pay attention to the month of September. Jim Weber, Fox 13 Weather.
In my home, our pets are family. So like us, they have an emergency kit too. We stock their favorite food and treats and plenty of water. Their favorite toys too. We pack their medicine in case they get sick. They also wear collars with tags saying they belong to us. Under their skin, they have these cool ID microchips just in case their tags are lost. Pet rescue decals on our windows alert police and firemen if something happens and we're not home. Many storm shelters don't accept animals, so before evacuating, we find pet-friendly hotels. We love our pets so much.
A catastrophic direct hurricane hit has not happened in Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater in a long, long time. Meteorologist Brittany Rainey tells us what it would be like if it did.
A lot of people ask us, is there something protecting Tampa from getting hit directly by a hurricane? And there isn't anything, but you can see most of those landfalls do occur in southern Florida. But since 1851, the Bay Area has seen anywhere from 4 to 9 hurricanes making direct landfall right over us. And that happened back in October. That's typically when we see the hurricanes coming up from the Caribbean, and then they shift off to the northeast right over to the Bay Area. And that's what happened back in October 1921. We get these early season fronts which direct the hurricane right over to the Bay Area. So that would be the optimal setup for us to get that direct hit. And if we were to see that, it would be incredibly important to evacuate, as storm surge would be 9+ feet all the way from Citrus, Hernando, Pasco County. US 19 would be completely underwater. Central part of Pinellas County would be underwater, all the way up to the Veterans Expressway. Underwater. Significant flooding along the Hillsborough River down towards Venice and Port Charlotte. They will be underwater as well. Brittany Rainey, Fox 13 Weather.
The Panhandle community of Mexico Beach is a different place after Hurricane Michael hit. Most homes were obliterated, but some were hardly damaged at all. Fox 13's Jennifer Holton traveled there and explains why some homes survived.
The afternoon Michael made landfall, homeowner Russell King was out of town. The home he and his nephew had built just a year prior was one of just 2 still inhabitable on his street.
We did the things that we could that we thought would increase survivability.
That included leaving vinyl out of the design process.
There's not a stick of vinyl, a piece of vinyl in this house anywhere.
A full hip roof where all sides sloped downwards to the walls, and hundreds of hurricane clips.
We got all those Simpson clips. There's probably $3,000 in hurricane clips up there now.
To sustain 250-mile-an-hour winds. The Panhandle's code is for 120 miles an hour, and Michael's gusts reached 150. The home sustained minor damage, a broken outdoor fan and a bit of flooding, along with 2 cracked windows. It was the strength of the glass in those windows, King says, that spared the home.
We lose this window, we could lose this house.
Now explain why.
Because when this window's compromised, the wind comes in, it's looking for what to do next. And it'll tear your roof off, which is, I'm afraid, happened to his house here.
What's next for King is learning from the mistakes that he did make.
We had an indoor-outdoor fan. It's supposed to be just fine, but we learned the hard way, don't put in a fan outside in an unenclosed area.
The wind ripped the fan down and the ceiling with it. Plus, no more outlets in the ceiling.
The ceiling outlet now has been moved from the ceiling to the wall. We moved it over here, tied it in, as tight as we can.
And more hurricane clips.
It's all new wood, all with Simpson clips all over it. Everywhere we can find where there's not a hurricane clip, we're putting in a Simpson hurricane clip.
To ensure the house built for the big one can make it through the next one. In Mexico Beach, Jennifer Holton, Fox 13 News.
In 2017, Hurricane Irma put Florida on guard.
So we knew that the storm was going to be a big deal.
Many of you had questioned,
Chris Boex, our Fox 13 social media manager, was among those on our staff providing answers. Your comments were helpful for us, too.
It gave us a very good indication of what was happening with the storm, but it also gave us a way of reassuring some of those folks and giving them important information in real time. We made sure that we were streaming plenty of live coverage from our folks in the field, from our meteorologists here in the station. Some of them were doing Facebook Lives individually. Even while we were on the air, we had other meteorologists engaging with people on Facebook separately from the weather office.
And many of you reached out to us to say thank you.
Our team will be with you again this year. And remember that you can always get weather updates on our Fox 13 News app and also on our Sky Tower radar app. Brittany Rainey, Fox 13 Weather.
Be prepared and be ready this storm season. I'm Paul Dellegatto. Thanks for watching, and please be safe.